You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 183 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I am with my horrible co-host, Jeff Gargas. Jeff, how are you?
Well, that's a little more like it. There's been some things recently where you've told me, you've introduced me with nice words and not been mean. But this was more like more in line, more in par with you. So I appreciate that a whole lot.
Yeah, with Liv being a part of our podcast later, I mean, she's absolutely Team Ray, and I didn't want anyone to get confused right off the bat. So before we get into our episode, I know we have some exciting news we're talking about, but just want to make sure we started very authentically for this episode.
Appreciate that. What exciting news are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about the Teach Better bookshelf.
Oh,
actually.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we can talk about that.
I am excited for that.
That sounds fun.
It's kind of funny. The Teach Better team really tries to bring our audience what they ask for. And continuously over the past few months, we've been talking about this idea of a Teach Better bookshelf. And it really was off of the idea of having amazing friends and colleagues and people we're connected with that are publishing books that we have taken the time to read and review and really become better educators from, and how could we communicate that versus just like tweeting it out every so often. And so the idea of the bookshelf was kind of built with that intention of amplifying the stories of, like Award-Winning Culture by Hans Appel, or could you say like any book from Mandy Freilich, right? All these different amazing outlets that we just suggest people, if they're looking for their next, fun book, what they should go into. But what I do want to celebrate on this podcast, Jeff, if you don't mind me going kind of off course, I love the addition that we added to the page that has to do with books that are not at all education related that we chose to add to the website under the Teach Better bookshelf, because they really are books that have drastically impacted our lives as people. And I don't know how else to phrase that besides that they're just really books that have shaped us as the human beings that we are today.
I think that's pretty accurate.
So at the top, if you go to teachbetter.com/bookshelf, you're going to see a ton of books. It's an ongoing list. We'll add them as we go. Amazing educational books. But if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see books that are really not education related, that somebody on our team has acknowledged really gave them food for thought, kind of helped them grow into the whole person that they are today. So, Jeff, do you mind, can I ask you or comment about a few of these?
Sure.
Okay, so the first one was actually brought up to me by my father, and then you said that this was one of your favorite books. So tell us about why you like The Go-Giver.
Your dad's a Go-Giver fan.
He says it's his favorite book of all time.
Oh, that makes me so happy. So,
I know.
You can't see, but if you've ever been in my office, I have back there, another one here. I have them all over my house. I don't know what they are. They're like, I don't know, 3.5 foot by 3 foot. I don't know, vinyl signs that actually have quotes from The Go-Giver on them. That's how much I love it. So, The Go-Giver is it's kind of like a parable, like a story of a young salesman who's trying to, be the best salesman in the world and be rich, basically, be wealthy, and he gets connected to a guy that is supposed to be, that is super wealthy and super successful, and it's just sort of this journey of him meeting a bunch of different people, not realize, thinking that he's going to get one thing, he's going to get sales techniques, stuff like that, but instead they actually teach him the true art, the true the best tactic for sales, and the fact of the matter is that's giving. And it's all about giving and connecting and stuff like that. So it's just it's a really fun short read. I'm actually no joke listening to it right now. I've read it a bunch of times, but I decided I wanted to listen to it, and I really like the audio version of it as well. It's just a nice easy listen. It's an easy read, but I really love it. It really shaped. I read it when I was very young and younger. and it really shaped the way. It was kind of how I felt and already sort of lived my life anyway, but really shaped the way I look at things and the way I run my business and the way I've ran businesses in the past and stuff. But yeah, that's a good one. And now the fact that I know that your dad likes it as well, top of the list.
I won't lie. Yeah, he recommended that book to me. And when he recommended it, I'm like, gosh, I know that title. And then not weeks later, you were like, hey, did you follow up on that book I gave you? I'm like, oh my gosh, you and my father. But truly, so that's one of the books that you submitted for our Teach Better bookshelf. Some other books that our team members submitted. Chad really loves Born to Run. Have you connected with that one before?
I have. Chad is much more into it than I enjoyed it. It's a really good book, but it's by Christopher McDougall.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
It was actually recommended and given to me by my brother Paul, my oldest brother Paul. It's all about running. It's about and it's been a while since I read it, so I can't remember the tribe's name. But Christopher, the author, spent time with a tribe that is just like, I mean, they are the most incredible runners in the world. It's how they live their life. Running is just a part of their everyday life. They run to. It's not just for exercise, it's how they live their life. And it really connects as a runner, which Chad and I both enjoy running, and that's something that we do. It really is just it's getting back into like the natural part of running. So it's just interesting thing. To me, I really liked it. So, also that I'm connected to the parkour community, and something that I heard a long time ago in parkour is that you don't learn how to parkour. We actually all unlearn parkour because it's actually the natural movement. Just like running. Running is a natural thing that we're all born to do and born able to do, obviously, as you grow. But we actually like sort of uneducate ourselves out of running because we don't need to do it in the world that we live in now. So Born to Run kind of gives you a lot of that, takes it look at the natural pieces of running and then ties it into like how you can just be a better runner. There's a lot of ways that also ties just into life and stuff like that too, but it's a really cool book. The author's also a great guy that gives tips on how to prepare to run, how to be a better runner, how to better recover and stuff like that. So good book.
So some of the other ones that are here, they're submitted by team members like Hans and Jen. Apple is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. The Servant, Start With Why. I mean, there's so many in here. I hope you guys go challenge yourself to read these, but we also have included books that we're currently reading. I know a lot of the team members are currently reading books about the current times of needing to be anti-racist. So there's so many texts in here that we encourage people to begin reading or listening to the audiobook of, for example, How to Be Anti-Racist or Stamped, or White Fragility, or Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? I mean, all these different texts that can help us be better listeners, be stronger educators, and truly just be better. So this bookshelf kind of evolved into something more than just highlighting, Teach Better Speakers Network books. We're like, oh, what's the Teach Better team writing? Like, it's so much more. We really want to be authentic with how are we as team members of the Teach Better team living that Teach Better mindset by striving to be better, and what texts are we connecting to that have actually shaped us as human beings. So I'm really excited for this bookshelf. It's a great way to amplify amazing stories, and I hope you guys go check it out, and even reach out if you have a book that's drastically impacted you as a human being. Let us know, and hopefully somebody on our team can take a peek at it and continue to grow as well. So that's the whole point of the Teach Better bookshelf.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be this ongoing thing like you mentioned. I think essentially in my mind what it's turned into now is anyone on the team that reads something and goes, ooh, that hit me, like it's probably going to get added. Or even if you're in the middle of it and you're like, man, this book's really getting to me, I'm really feeling it, then we're probably going to add it so that you can experience that too. Ideas are certainly welcome for sure, because we can dive into it. So
yeah, and to be honest with you, like you guys know, there's so many education books that we've reviewed and read and got so much value from. We really want this to be a purposeful space that we know that anybody that picks this up is going to get value from it. So just know that we are being very strategic and specific and trying to make this a really valuable resource for everybody who takes part in visiting it.
Love it. Very cool. All right, let's talk about this episode. This was a fun one. This was a big one. Big one because we were super pumped to have this educator on. Livia Chan came into our world actually because we got connected on Twitter, but she really got involved when I invited her on the podcast. I had been connect with her just for a very short time, but I'd seen some things that she posted. I interacted on a couple of things. I was like, oh, I really like, what she's saying. She's up in Canada. She seems super passionate about what she's doing. I'm gonna invite her on the podcast. And she said that she kind of was like, oh, I wonder who is Teach Better, and she dove in, and she has been so involved in our world since then, which has been a couple months now. So much so that we actually asked her to be one of our initial and kickoff ambassadors, which she gladly jumped on. And we're so pumped about. And she really has been just involved in everything, dude. Every webinar we put on, everything, every live video we have going on, there's Livia just popping in, saying hi, spreading some sunshine, spreading some knowledge, and just being a part of it. And we're so pumped to have her on the podcast. So Livia Chan is a elementary teacher. She's taught grades 1 all the way through 4. She's been on her district staff development team. She's been a learning technologies teacher or team in learning technologies. So she said that's sort of like a instructional technology leader, in the States. She's been teaching and been a teacher for 21 years, so lots of experience. She serves on the district mentorship committee and the Building Your Leadership Capacity Committee. She's moving into a role as a head teacher now. It's just super, super passionate. She's a coach. She brings a lot of that into our conversation, which I love. And like I said, she's also a Teach Better ambassador. She just carries the Teach Better mindset, I think, in everything she does. And this was just so much fun for us. Ray, I know you are a huge Livia fan. Anything else you want our audience to really catch on to or listen to in this episode?
No, I think the biggest thing is to make sure you connect with Liv and really choose to be an active learner. And also, hashtag Team Ray. She's a Team Ray fan, so I'm all about it.
All right. Well, with that lie, we'll get an episode 183 with Livia Chan. All right. We are here and we are chatting with Livia Chan. And Liv, it is so awesome to have you on the podcast. We got connected a while back, asking you I don't even remember how we got connected. Let's be honest. It was on Twitter, and then I asked you to get on the podcast, and that got us talking a little bit. And then you kind of came into a world, and you really jumped in full, I think, 2 feet right into the Teach Better world, and the entire team just loves you now. Like that's just a fact of the matter. Correct, Ray?
Oh, she's a part of every
Yeah,
conversation
it
I
is.
feel like the team
Like,
has.
we just love it, and we love how active you are in the community. So it's so excited now that we're finally to the date that we scheduled and stuff. So super excited to just learn more about you, talk about your story, and just highlight you today. Before we get too far into that, how are you feeling right now?
I am over the moon, ecstatic, and thrilled, all rolled into one. I've been looking forward to this ever since you asked me, and it's such an honor to speak with you. I've learned so much from you and the Teach Better team. I feel like if we were in a room together and I was standing next to the two of you, I would just get smarter through osmosis. Honestly, I really do.
Well, maybe next to Ray.
Oh my gosh. Liv, you're so funny. I honestly don't know what the team can do. It doesn't feel right unless you're a part of it. Like we
Oh,
recently
thank
were
you.
hosting 2 webinars at the same time and you were only in one and not the other. And every time I logged into the other webinar, I'm like, wait, we can't start. Like Liv's not here yet. Like I'm so
Oh,
confused.
you
But
just melted my heart. Thank
it's
you,
true.
Ray.
It's like every live video, it's so fun. And I really enjoyed not only obviously getting to learn with you, but I've learned so much from you over the past few weeks that I'm thrilled that we're going to be able to interview you on Teach Better Talk because just your experience over the past few months has given me so much insight and reflection for my own classroom. So anyway, I'm excited to get into all of that, I guess, needless to say. But before we get too far into this, for listeners who may not be connected to you, maybe don't know all about you, how would you typically describe yourself when somebody asks you what you do?
Well, for the last 20 years or so, I would say I'm a passionate teacher and a coach. Most of the time, I've been teaching grade 2, 3. Last year, I had a taste of grade 1, and this year, a taste of grade 4. In the past, I've had an opportunity to serve on our staff development team in learning technologies for 6 years. And I think in the States, you call them instructional technology coaches or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would probably be accurate.
Okay. Yeah, that's where we go from building to building, building capacity across the district. So I was given 27 schools to support and loved every single one of them and building relationships with all the different teachers and the administrators. It was quite an honor and a blessing to be in that role. But 2 years ago, I went back into the classroom, not by choice, but went back into the classroom, and I've been loving it ever since. Because when I went into onto the staff development team, it took me probably a good couple years to get used to that role because I so miss working with kids. You know, it's a little bit like in this pandemic where you don't get to see your kids all the time, and I was pining for that relationship with kids again. But I knew that working with adults was a little different experience because anything that I could work and teach them, they were it would make the experience for the kids better. So it was a different way of reaching kids, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then,
Um,
oh, sorry.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead. Don't let me stop you from going.
And then next year, I have an exciting new role as a head teacher at a different school, and there's a new administrator because there's a retirement at that school. So, really excited about next year going into a brand new school to get to know a new community and work together with another uh, phenomenal administrator. So, I'm excited about that.
That's pretty cool. That's an exciting new adventure there. And I know I've seen you coach. You do some coaching as well. Do you coach
Mhm.
still?
I do. So, years ago, I coached basketball in school, and then when my kids were younger, I coached Odyssey of the Mind. Do you know what that is? It's a creative problem-solving
Yes.
team. Yes, and we actually won provincials, and we got to go to Iowa for the world competition. So that was really cool when my kids were, I think, in grade 4 and 5. And then currently, I coach ringette. So I don't,
Do you really?
I would be rich for the number of times that I've explained what ringette is. Do you know what it is?
Well, I'm gonna make it. I know what it is, but I think
Oh,
it's very unique. But I'm guessing that so the majority of our audience is in the States, so I'm
yeah,
guessing they probably don't know what that is. Can you
yeah.
explain it? Just because, Ray, have you ever heard of that before? Do you
Yeah,
know what
I,
ring it
I
is?
won't lie. I was trying to avoid saying I have no idea what you're talking about.
Can you lay it out? I have an idea. I know what it is to an extent. Like I've seen it, I understand
Right.
it, but I'm a hockey guy, so like
Okay. Yeah, it's an ice sport, so we wear pretty much the same gear. The cage is a little bit different because the ringette stick is just a stick. There's no
I was
blade.
gonna say your sticks are weird. It's missing part of it.
It's not weird.
Your stick is weird. That's the quote of the night.
For a hockey guy, it is.
Yeah, I suppose. And
Because
then
it's just the shaft, like just the straight stick, right?
yes,
That's all.
yes,
No, yeah.
yes. And then there's a plastic tip at the bottom, and then we play with a ring. And so
Mhm.
in hockey, you have a blue line where you can't pass before the puck goes over.
Mhm.
Well, in ringette, you have to pass over the two blue lines. So it really makes
Mm.
it a team sport because you can't go from end to end. You have to pass it twice before you can take a shot.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting.
And it's you have 30 seconds to take a shot. So as soon as your goalie has it, passes it out, you've got 30 seconds to take the first shot, and then you can reset the shot clock.
So within 30 seconds, you have to make two passes and
Yes,
then a
and
shot. Yeah.
yes, yes. So the game
Wow,
is
so
a lot
that's, like,
faster.
much more yeah, like,
Yeah,
you're working within a lot of restriction there, so you really gotta get creative and
yeah.
move, huh?
And so you have to be more agile because you're not
Yeah.
worried about losing the puck. But I love the sport. So passionate about it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up to watch a game. That's for sure. I have an image in my head, but I'm worried that it may not be the right image.
I learned a lot of hockey so I've always been a big fan of hockey, and so I've
Mhm,
always enjoyed, like, learning more about, like, field hockey in the States and then well, yeah, but I've only seen it, haven't really looked into it, so I just learned a ton right there, so that's
mhm,
really cool.
yeah. So I see myself as like a coach and a connection maker in how I live and I interact with others. You know how you have those coaches that are really enthusiastic and they're like a cheerleader and they're positive and they're encouraging and they uplift their athletes and they're upbeat. I kind of feel like that. I just love people and teaching is all about relationships. And so that's why I love teaching and I love coaching.
Hmm. I haven't got any of that from you at all, Livia, I don't know.
Liar.
No, I love that, and so I wanna touch on, with everything going on with COVID and school shutdown, and everything like that, your school, well, all of British Columbia, I believe, is
Yes,
went back for June.
yes.
Can you kinda show so now, today it's the 15th, so you've been back for 2 weeks essentially,
Mhm,
right?
that's right. That's right.
Can you kind of share what that's been like? I know it's been a little bit up and down, and I don't
Yeah.
know if it's been super consistent or not, but can you share with us sort of how that's been for the last 2 weeks, getting back into the classroom to
Mhm.
try and finish the year off?
It's been amazing because we have an opportunity to invite back certain students that are have volunteered. They want to come back,
Mhm.
and the students that chose to stay home have their own reasons, and we all respect that. And when they come in, they we ask them the typical COVID questions, and then they come in, wash their hands, and you should see my day plan that I leave out for them because it's wash your hands and then do this, and then wash your hands and then it's recess, and then wash your hands and then it's play math, and then wash your hands. So we're washing our hands so many times over the day, but it's to keep us safe. And so our tables, my classroom's in the portable, so which has no sink or bathroom. So we've relocated to the library. So it's a nice space, and we're able to separate ourselves on these larger tables. And we've asked the kids to bring their own devices. So we've just carried on with what we are doing remotely and partly in class. And then we play some fun games, and it's just a way to reconnect. And when they first came back, you should see their faces. They were scared, nervous, tentative. But by the end of the day, they were so happy, and I asked them to reflect on their feelings from when they first arrived and how they feel now. And they were just so happy. And I felt happy. And I think it's just really important for us to get back to seeing each other face to face. And it's been amazing. I've loved seeing them face to face. And we've done Zoom meetings while they're in school. So we had presentations for our passion projects. So we're still connecting with the kids at home while we're at school too.
Hmm. And so are you in the classroom all 5 days a week, or is it just certain days? How are
Only
you set up?
right. Only Monday and Tuesday
Okay.
because I only have 7 kids that have returned out of 24. So
Okay.
it's just one cohort. They come Monday, Tuesday. Teachers that have more kids, they have cohort one Monday, Tuesday, and then cohort two Thursday, Friday.
Okay. And then so then the rest of the week it's just all virtual support?
Yes,
And
Wednesday,
no,
yes.
gotcha.
Mm.
So then you have the rest of the month, correct? You guys go all the way through
We
June?
do, we do. So
Interesting. So you have a little bit of a look into what fall might look like for some
uh-huh.
or for a lot of us and stuff. So that's gonna be really
Mhm,
interesting to see how we go. So it's gonna be fun to kind of continue to talk with you over the next few weeks to gain knowledge of how it continues to go for you and how your school wraps everything up and stuff.
mhm.
So
And I'd be
yeah.
super happy to talk to anybody who has any thoughts or feelings about returning, and I can just share how it's been, and I've loved it. I've loved it.
Well, there you go. You hear it. We're gonna share Liv's uh, Twitter and other ways to contact her later on, so you can reach out and she can chat you through it and share what's going up there. So appreciate that. Let's talk. You listen to the podcast. You know we talk about failure at times. So you know this is coming, but let's talk about
Mhm.
that. Can you share a story with us about a time you've had a failure or a challenge in life that you had to overcome? Kind of share what happened with us. How did you overcome it, and what did you take away from that experience?
Well, my failure is not really education related, but it's more personal related. I have had a grandma who came over from Hong Kong when I was 6 months old, and she lived with us for the remainder of her life. And as I was growing up, she did everything for us. My parents owned a restaurant, so they were working 24 no, not 24, not 24/7. They were working 7 days a week. And so my grandma was the one that cooked us breakfast, lunch, dinner, put us to bed, woke us up, got us ready for school. Didn't help us with homework because she didn't speak any English. But I I felt that I never truly appreciated her uh, until after she was gone, and I never felt like I really explicitly told her how much I truly loved her when she was alive. And so I feel like I took for granted the time that I had with her. And when you're younger, you're not thinking how much longer your grandparents going to live. But I guess I took for granted that she would live forever. And so now, when I think back, I feel that that has completely changed how I live my life and who I am, and I feel that I've developed a passion for people, and a grateful heart. So every action that I have with people, it's very intentional, and it's to connect. And I often remind people how much they mean to me, and I'm specific about it. And it's a little bit like carpe diem, you know. You don't know when it'll be the last time you'll see them or speak to them or connect to them with them. And so I just always want to make sure that people know how much I love them, how much I appreciate them. And it's really because of, you know, as when I was younger, I didn't feel that I really got a chance to do that.
Wow. That's a powerful story and an important lesson that, you need to appreciate everyone you have while you have
Mhm,
them, and the time you have, and why it's so important to be present in the present all the
mhm,
time.
mhm,
Jeff,
Uh,
this would be a perfect opportunity to challenge our listeners to pause this podcast, although you should absolutely come back because there's so much more fun to be had. But pause this podcast and reach out to somebody and tell them intentionally how much you appreciate them.
mhm.
I love it. I love it. There's your challenge. Go
Awesome.
do
Go do
that.
it. Go do it. And then when you are finished, press play and keep listening to the rest of this podcast.
All right, we're gonna wait. You go do that. Okay, now that you're back, let's go on. Let's flip it around now, Olivia. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. This could be something big or something small, but tell us what it was, what happened, why was it a success for you, and then what did you take away from that experience?
Mhm. So, as a coach, I often think about what is success and how do you measure it. So, at the beginning of the season, we often talk about, okay, let's define success. What does that mean? You know, you can have big wins. Does that equal success necessarily? No, not necessarily, because you could have played a game where your team was just stronger than the other team, and so you ended up with a win. And and that doesn't mean you're successful. To me, we talk a lot as a team about our improvement and how we have a team atmosphere, and together we win, together we support each other. And so I don't see success as like big success. I see success as little successes every day. It's the small wins that mean a lot. So it's the growth, it's the working together, and every interaction that we have together is the connection, the relationships, the community that we build together. These are everyday successes. And so that's how I see the classroom too, everyday successes. And on my blog, I have a tagline, and it's working together to better ourselves, each other, and the world around us. And I when I thought of that, it probably took me 3 months to come up with that, but I've had that tagline for probably about 8-ish years now, and I still really believe in it. Every time I read it, I feel like, "Yes, this is what I really believe in." And to me, it feels very similar to yours, you know, better today than we were yesterday, better tomorrow than we were today, and the whole teach better mindset. And I love the idea of betterment, and how in everything that we do, it's, when I think about teaching better, it's actually a lifestyle. That it's not just your teaching part of your life, but everything that you do. So whether it's, for me, it's ringette, or it's, family or friends, it's everything. It's a mindset for
I
life.
really, I really, really, really agree. And I love that you, as a member of our family, as a member of the Teach Better, network, and the amazing educators that choose to carry this mindset. I think teaching is very similar, right? Like to truly embody an idea, like being on a pursuit of growth. I love that, at a pursuit of betterment, right? It really does need to be not just a hobby, not just a challenge, but truly a lifestyle shift. And I so resonate with that. And that must be, Liv, why you connected so well with our team, because I feel like you were brought in, and I didn't actually know that you were connected with Jeff prior to when you started showing up or in our network, but it's just immediate, your presence, the insight you bring. It just seemed so organic. It's like you've been in the family forever. And I'm so happy. Like, I feel like I'm going to remember this moment of like, oh, my life changed when Liv became a part of every live and every, great, rich conversation. And it's just been so fun. But I have to know, with everything you've done, you're so passionate and you have so much to share. What's really getting you like excited about all that you're doing and what you're doing, because that must come from somewhere. Like, what fuels your fire?
I think ever since I became a teacher, which is probably similar to the time that my grandma passed, or maybe shortly after, but I have always loved learning. And I remember being a brand new teacher, and one of the reasons why I chose my district to work in is because they offered so many opportunities for professional development. And I would go to as many as I could over the years, and I feel like I'm a Prody junkie. And so everything that I learned, it would just add to my knowledge, and it would make me want to know more. It's kind of like, uh, I don't know how to, it's like when you have chocolate and you just don't have enough, you just want more, right? And, during this time of the pandemic, we've just been given such a gift of time to pursue our passions. And before, when I was teaching and on staff development, I was just too busy because I was also coaching at the highest level that my daughter could play at. And there just wasn't a lot of time. And so with the pandemic, I've just been able to just slow down and reflect on my growth. And, ever since Jeff DM'd me and said, "Hey, would you like to be a guest on our podcast?" My brain has been on fire, my heart is ablaze, and just finding Ray and Jeff and the team is just incredible. I like, is there a bigger word than incredible? Just how about incredible in bold letters and 100 font with exclamation marks? It's,
Oh, you're
you
too
know, it's
awesome.
no, it's you guys are so awesome. And, I think it's the everyday opportunities that we have to grow to be better. And, we're blessed with our PD, right? Every day we have the flexibility to follow who we want, what we want to learn about, when we want to learn it, which platform, whether it's Twitter or, how you have your Facebook groups, webinars, why we want to do it and how we do it. So there's so much flexibility for us to partake in PD every day. And for me, I love people, I love connecting and community. And I feel that, the Teach Better team and all the amazing educators that's a part of it, uh, how they say you surround yourself with greatness and people with similar passions. I feel like I found my family, if you know what I mean.
Mm. No, I
And
love that.
and you two have made me feel so, so welcome. And everybody talks about that with the team, and it's it's something that I believe in too, that welcomeness. And so thank you. I just really deeply want to thank you for changing my life, because I feel like my life has changed.
Oh gosh, you
I'm
just
not crying. You're crying,
I
Ray.
know. You're the best. Oh, it's so fun. I have, it's just funny because, we love having our podcast as a platform to amplify teachers' voices. And there's so many amazing stories we've been able to hear on the podcast. But truly, looking at my calendar today, I was like, I cannot wait to have you on the podcast specifically just to talk shop and learn more about you. And I just so appreciate all this amazingness you are sharing so far. I know you listen to the podcast, so you know that question 5 always has to do with advice. And I really am excited to ask you about this because as a coach, as a valuable teacher, as somebody who's constantly sharing with others, if you had to narrow down, I know it's going to be so tricky. If you had to narrow down one piece of advice that you would give any educator, and I know sometimes we say, a new teacher, a veteran teacher, truly anybody in the field, what would your piece of advice be?
I would say that in order to teach better, you don't need to make big changes. So instead, you make small changes. And I've thought about 6 different ways that you can make small changes. So I see it like a sandwich. We're going to start with people, and then some classroom ideas, and then end off with self. So the first one is people, and the small thing that I think people can do is to just reflect on your interactions. How do you connect with others? Whether it's the staff, your own students, their siblings, their parents, people outside of your school community, other teachers in the district. And it starts with the greetings. You were talking about that the other day, Ray. I believe it was on Facebook, and how you teach your kids how to handshake and the body language and all that. And I feel the same way, that how you greet someone is so important. You have to say their name. And in Chinese, we have this thing. When we were growing up, we're always told to, when we say hello to any of our aunts or uncles, or my parents' friends, they were always auntie or uncle. So you always had to say their name. It was ingrained in us. So I did the same with my own kids at home and my own students. And so it's so nice, they walk in, and every single student, "Good morning, Miss Chan. Good morning, Miss Chan. How are you?" And I do the same. I say every single kid's name first thing in the morning with a huge smile on my face. And it's, that warm greeting. That's the first thing they see when they open that door, right? So that's, to me, a small change you can make. And I even see in school, when sometimes you're walking down the hall, and whenever I see our custodian in his little office, I always stop and I always say hello, and I ask him how he's doing. But I see other people, they might walk on by, or uh, they don't do that. And I just think, I may be interrupting what he's doing, but to me that's important. I saw him, so why not take that opportunity to just stop and say hello, how are you, thank you for cleaning our school,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
you know and then, okay, I also think that, you know in terms of people, SEL is more important than ever. And so every day we do some kind of daily activity. And, I think that curriculum is not as important as learning about themselves and their place in this world. And even during parent interviews, in the beginning of the year, I don't hesitate to tell them that it's about people, and more so than, or relationships is more important than the curriculum that I'm teaching them. And you know, in our district, we use the term notice, name, and nurture. I don't know if you do that in the States,
Hmm.
but it's, really anytime you see something that you think you really want to foster and see more of, then when you notice it, you have to name it, and then you nurture it. And so when I see kids that might, for example, somebody sneezes or starts crying, and then a child will run to the Kleenex box and grab a Kleenex and give it to that child. Well, I'm going to make a big deal out of it, because I want people to do more of that, right? And so when you name it, like I often think about people that, say to me how, kind or gracious I am, or, and the more I hear it, the more I feel like, oh, that's how I am. That's what I do. And so if kids are constantly hearing that you're that's so kind of you to do that, that I think it encourages them to continue doing that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And then gratitude. I think gratitude is meant to be shared, and you don't just take the opportunities, but you make the opportunities, and you act on those feelings of gratitude. So quite often in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll think of a friend because they've done something for me the night before. Then I'll make sure that sometime during that day or in the next couple of days or so, I will make sure that I email or text them to say, I was thinking about you the other day, and I really want to say thank you. And I think that makes a huge difference, you know, um, in having people know that they are appreciated. Right?
Mm, I love that.
And then building community, I think, is really important in every interaction that you make. Do you know Peter Block?
No,
He
tell me more.
Okay. He wrote a book called Community: The Structure of Belonging. And I'm just going to read a quote here. The key to creating or transforming community, then, is to see the power in the small but important elements of being with others. The shift we seek needs to be embodied in each invitation we make, each relationship we encounter, and each meeting we attend. For at the most operational and practical level, After all the thinking about policy, strategy, mission, and milestones, it gets down to this: how are we going to be when we gather together? And so I think it's like what Hans and Jen talk about all the time, is being specific and intentional. And when in every interaction, whenever I'm thanking somebody or whatnot, I'm always being specific. Like I'm being very detailed about what it is I'm thankful for, instead of just thank you, right? I'm being very specific, and I go beyond that, and I tell them how it made me think or feel, because I think that's such an important added part to just thanking them specifically for something. Because in every interaction, I don't think that there's no neutral. It's either a positive interaction or a negative one. And
Mm.
so every interaction is an opportunity to touch someone else's life and to make it better.
Oh, I love that. So important.
Yeah. And then I have 4 ideas for in the classroom. One is the element of surprise. So, beginning of the year, I said to my kids, I am making a commitment to you that every single day when you come to school, there's going to be something new. And so I have kids that when we have our reflections, they mention, I want to come to school tomorrow because I want to see what that something new is. And often it has something to do around SEL. So different, it may be a different activity or just something different for them to kind of make them want to come back. And then the other thing is I offer choice. And, you know, uh, offering choice, just the simple act of offering choice makes such a difference. You know how teachers would put up a picture and then kids might write about it. Well, why not put up 2 pictures? And so, I've done lots of different things where I've just offered choice, and I've seen so much creativity because you've offered the choice. And it's interesting how some of them even take the 2 choices and make it their own, because, like one time I gave them 2 pictures of a door, and some of them chose to write a story with the 2 doors instead of one or the other. But usually one speaks more than the other, right? And then, choice in topics, choice in partners, choice in workspaces. I mean, I know, Ray, you use flexible seating, and I tried that this year. My kids loved it. They even built forts. We had a green screen thing, and they just put it all over the tables, and they were writing underneath the tables, and they just loved it. And then the other thing is creativity. I think if you just put on your criteria sheet or give them a challenge to just whatever it is that you're producing, add some element of creativity, I think is huge for kids. That especially, if we're trying to promote that kind of thinking that we need in the future for these kids. And the last thing for the classroom is fun. Gamify, you know, things that include speed or racing. I've done lots of actually, Ray. I've done lots of different math things for this kind of fun, and
Yeah.
they're so engaged, and you don't even need to do a lot. Just turn it into a little bit like a game, and they just eat it up. And then the last one is about ourselves. It's our mindset, and the small change that I would like to encourage is that when you have a challenge, I'd love for you to see it as an opportunity. And that's kind of what I preach to my students, is that, this is something that you might be struggling with, but here is an area of opportunity that I'd like you to take. And I call it that area of opportunity because I think it's something that, sometimes they're going to be in the mood to take it. And then sometimes they're going to be in the mood that they don't want to take it. And that's okay, because there will be other areas of opportunity. And I even give them like an imaginary gift. So I just hold my hand out as if I'm holding a box, or I hold my hand out as if I'm holding a pill, and I'll say, take it. And they're like, what is this? I say, it's a gift, just take it. And they'd be like, hesitantly going, okay. And then as soon as they take it, they say, well, what is it? And I say, it's an opportunity, or it might be it's some confidence, or it might be whatever it is. And so I actually have them swallow it if it is a pill that I'm giving them. So, and they love it. It's, a little bit of drama, but I think it's important for them to see these things as opportunities, or, when they're just feeling scared or something. And so this is my confidence. I'm giving you confidence. You can take it and you can do this. I believe in you, right? They need to know that you believe in them. And
Ugh, I love
that's
it.
so huge, like I, I feel like lately I've had so many people show me in so many different ways that they believe in me. And Jeff, you're one of them. I just have to say thank you for you reaching out to ask me to record this podcast. And I was listening to you talk with Josh Stamper on his Aspire podcast, right?
Yeah, so good.
Uh, Jeff, and you were talking about Ray, actually, and her, you
Uh-oh.
being a
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. She might not know yet.
oh,
Trouble.
oopsie. Well, it is available for her to listen to, Jeff. But about her being a great business partner and how you had to kind of convince her over and over again that this is what you saw in her. And I think it's that, what we have to do with, or what we do for our students, is we have to keep telling them, I believe in you. I know you can do this. And it's kind of going back to that, what I was talking about, being a coach and that cheerleader is, you believe in your students so deeply, and they can see it in your eyes, in your actions, in everything, that they kind of start to believe it themselves, right? That, oh, you believe I can do this? Oh, like maybe I can do this.
Yeah, and then you create a monster, because now I do things all the time and I don't ask Jeff. And then he comes back, he's like, did you change or add a massive element to our company? And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, that was last Tuesday.
It happens,
Yeah, catch up with me, Jeff. That was last Tuesday.
True.
So much value in that, Olivia. I really appreciate you kind of, like you said, it was a sandwich, going through all of that. So let's keep it rolling here. Let's keep having some fun. We're gonna do the next 6 questions, and your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I'll try. Yes.
She's been practicing. She's ready.
She's ready. All right, she's ready. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Office 365 for my classroom, and Twitter for me, because that's where I get my inspiration from others.
What's a book you're reading right now?
Award-winning Culture by Hans Apfel.
Woohoo.
Loving it.
Never heard of that. Is that any good?
Oh, stop it.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
Well, Teach Better Team is a must. That's an absolute must. I love Edutopia because of their articles, and the Dalai Lama is somebody else I also follow. They've got a website, and they promote there's a heart mind index. So anybody that's interested in SEL, you can take a look at that too. But that's what our school uses, and I love it.
What's a good YouTube channel or website for educators?
I'm going to promote 2 Canadians that challenged me to think. One is Shelley Moore, her YouTube channel, 5 More Minutes. Do you know her?
I don't.
You have to check her out.
I'm going to now.
Yeah, she's an advocate for inclusive education and diversity. She's a total leader in BC in this area. She's full of energy, entertaining to watch. And she's got this bowling pin analogy. I'm just going to leave it at that, but you should totally watch that. And then the second one is George Couros.
Oh.
He sends out a weekly email, and it's something personal, something professional, and
Mhm.
something profound. And every time I read it, I feel like he's talking to me. And I've reached out to him and told him that too. And I love reading his weekly emails.
Awesome. Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
I would say give the gift of connection to yourself, to people close to you, and to people that you don't see all the time.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Small things make big changes over time, and you can make a difference with the small things that you say and that you do.
Trophy. Teach
Trophy.
Better Trophy. I'm
Yeah.
declaring it.
Thanks,
I
Ray.
love it. Well, I want to make sure that our network can stay connected to you, because there's been so many nuggets in here of takeaways. And I know you are just such a well-connected educator, always growing your PLN. I want to encourage all of our listeners to make sure they connect with you beyond just this podcast. So where can people stay connected?
I'm very active on Twitter, so I can be found at Livia Chan L. So it's LIVIACHANL.
Okay. And then you have your website too, don't you?
I do at livechan.com.
That's right. All right. So, you can find all the things, all the links, all the resources, everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those links to make sure you can connect with Livia and keep the conversation going, learn from her, grow with her, and just have some fun with her. Let's face it. So make sure you check out the show notes over at teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we would really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and share this podcast with them. Livia, this was awesome. So happy that we got to the day that we had it scheduled and we were able to get you on here. It's been so much fun just getting to connect with you and just like we were talking about earlier, just seeing you in on everything and learning with you and growing with you and learning from you and growing because of you. It's been such a blast. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. Thank you.
No, thank you. Pleasure has been all mine, and I just so appreciate you, Ray, and the team. Thank you.
I love it. And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.